Hello and welcome everybody to our Active House Radar in Action booklet launch. Uh, this event is here to let you know a little bit more about Active House, about our radar, but most importantly, about what it means to use this radar and what benefits it has to use the Active House radar for your buildings, for your renovations. Um, I'm delighted to be here with an incredible group of people who have built active houses and who have certified that active houses, and you will hear from them what it means to do so. But first of all, we want to tell you a little bit about Active House, about the radar, how it works, and why it's an incredibly useful tool. And here with me to do that is Carsten Rode. Carsten Rode is an Active House board member since its foundation in 2011 and professor in building physics at the Technical University of Denmark, and Nicole Di Santo, who has been creating and editing this booklet and for many years has been supporting and overseeing the Active House Award. Nicole has a PhD from the Department of Architecture, Built Environment and Construction Engineering at the Politecnico di Milano, where she actually applied the Active House standard and saw what it's like in action. My name is Benita Lips. I'm the Secretary General of Active House, and there's a person behind stage, Alberto, my colleague, who's making all of this possible. So welcome. Please use the chat to ask questions in the Q&A. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Carsten to tell us a little bit about the Active House Alliance.
Thank you very much, Benita, and you told a little bit of the history that goes back to 2011. And just for 1 minute, briefly, I'll just introduce what is the Active House concept about. It is a concept that embraces a holistic approach to sustainable building design, where we take into consideration energy efficiency, as we have always done with the efficient housing, but not least important is the second aspect, which is the indoor climate aspect. And then, of course, as also for today, even more important, environmental building concerns and parameters to investigate and optimize in the design. So compared to, if we may say, compared to other building rating systems, which maybe have more focus on more narrow subjects like energy, then the Active House concept is based on a more integrated approach that factors in all the relevant considerations in buildings design. That's all personally, that's the reason I engaged in this some 14 years ago. The purpose is to maximize also, we have focus on the occupants, so their quality of life, while we ensure a sustainable situation that does not negatively impact on the climate and the environment. So by putting indoor environmental quality at the forefront and by observing those interconnections and relationships to energy performance and also to the well-being of occupants, well, then this concept, it contributes to making homes, we call them, that are not only energy efficient, but also have good environmental parameters, and that they foster good, healthy, comfortable living conditions in the buildings. I call them homes because it doesn't have to be residential buildings. It's also homes for public buildings, offices, schools, and such things. So with also technology-wise, while using in active houses contemporary current solutions in building energy technology, and by making considerable choices in the design and use of materials, then active houses will have a minimal environmental impact. And also, you can study positive or good whole life carbon budgets. So finally, as I said, we comprise several types of buildings, but also we should mention that it's both for new buildings and it's also for renovation projects that we study and inspire people to optimize. So those were my kind of introductory words, and then I will lead over the word to the good support and we have in Nicole Di Santo, who collected uh, this book here for us with some that puts highlight on exactly specific cases and also these topics that are fundamentally in active house definitions. So over to you, Nicole.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Carsten, for introducing me. As you were seeing also in the previous slide, there was a map with so many projects, and I think it's really much important to make this overview about the what we are doing, because it's something that is spread now in the world. So it's great to be here and to have this opportunity to present the booklet. As mentioned, Active House approach is built on three core principles: comfort, energy, and environment. And rather than focusing only on energy performances, it promotes a more holistic vision of sustainable design, balancing technical performance with the quality of life for occupants. Today, I'll walk through how Actival specifications and rather help quantify and guide this approach, and how the Actival's rather booklets can be valuable as a resource for professional. Sorry. So the Actival's specification 3.0 provide a structured method for assessing and improving building performances, and they serve as a reference for a wide range of professionals, including architects, engineers, developers, policymakers, who desire to integrate sustainable and human-centric design into their projects. So, what differentiates this framework is its ability to adapt to different contexts, and it also offers a clear guideline that highlight daylight access, thermal and indoor air quality, energy efficiency, and the assessment of environmental impacts, as well as the responsible use of materials. So the goal is to create buildings that do not only reduce the environmental impact, for instance, but also contribute to the well-being of the people who use them. So, as a key instrument in applying this principle is the ActiveHouse Radar that you see here. This tool is visually represent a building performance across three main areas: comfort, as we mentioned, energy, and environment. Comfort includes aspects like daylight thermal comfort, indoor air quality, and acoustic quality. Energy is covering the demand, the supply, and the primary energy performances, and environment assessing its impact, also evaluating material source, declaration, but also the water use. So each area is evaluated on a scale from 1, which is the best, to 4, which is the lowest passing level, offering transparent and adaptable way of assess a building sustainability. In contrast with rigid certification schemes, the radar allows for flexibility, recognizing that different projects have different priorities and constraints. So this makes the radar applicable across a variety of contexts, including new construction, which guide the design choices, for instance, from the very early design, and renovation, helping optimize existing buildings from improved performance for improved performances, and building in use, providing a framework, for instance, for assessing and refining operation over time. So the radar can be defined as a communication tool, as it makes sustainable and visible and understandable that is possible to enable stakeholders to compare different solutions, track progress, and make informed decisions. So moving to the ActiveHouse Radar's booklet, I can say that is illustrating how this concept come to life through real projects by compiling a case studies from different building type and context. It demonstrates a practical application of the ActiveHouse principles, offering inspiration and guidance for professionals looking to implement sustainable strategies. So what is particularly important to note is that the active house methodology is not new. It has been tested and refined over multiple editions. The principles outlined in previous edition have been already widely applied in real-world projects, as you were seeing in the first slide with the map, and documented in numerous academic and professional publications. For instance, those made by experts like Marco Imparadori from Politecnico di Milano and Lone Pfeiffer from Velux. These research and case studies have provided a valuable insight into how the protocol functions in practice, reinforcing its effectiveness and tool for sustainable design. Here today, we are seeing especially applied the specification 3.0, and so I encourage you to explore the booklet and learn from the case studies and apply these insights on your projects. So thank you, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for giving us this overview, and Carsten for the introduction. I think that's been really useful. We are absolutely delighted to welcome many of the people who have created these fantastic buildings and who also have applied the radar here with us. We'd like to give them a quick chance to in 1 minute say a little bit about the work that they've done and their project before we start actually looking into the discussion of what it means to use the radar. So the first project that we have the pleasure to have here today is the nursery and primary school of Alfedena. And I think we have Chiara with us now to tell us a bit about it. Welcome, Chiara. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, and hi to everyone. This project concerns the kindergarten and primary school of the municipality of Alfedena. It's a newly constructed building completed in 2022, born from a public-private partnership in which the municipality was supported by the association as Comuni Virtuosi and Velux Italy in the design of the structure. This union ensured that one of the design goals was to create a comfortable environment, so enhancing natural light, guarantee greater psychophysical well-being, comfort, and energy savings. Some of the main features are like solar and thermal panels, explosion of natural ventilation, and the attitude to internal lateral lighting through windows and skylights. So in this project, the application of the active house radar proved to be an excellent tool for guiding the choice of efficient interventions. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chiara, for that wonderful introduction and for staying in time. I think it's great to see your radar and really intriguing to see the pictures. So we'll hear a bit more about this. Next, we're having the people representing the Great Gulf Active House in Thorpe, Canada. So I think Sean and Tad are on stage to tell us a bit about this one.
So Sean Joffrey with Great Gulf. I run the sustainability division at Great Gulf. We started with Active House back in 2012, I believe. This was our first Active House, which was built back in 2013. We started with a more customized Active House, so a custom home, I would say, as Great Gulf is a production builder. And over the last 12 years or so, we've really brought the Active House down to a production type house, still focusing mostly on the comfort area of it, as we look at it as our homeowner benefits. Well, you know, the energy code of Ontario really takes care of our energy area. And in Toronto right now, we really haven't caught up with Europe on the carbon and all that and the environmental. So it's still a new area for us. But the house features, I mean, lots of natural light. It allows for gray water recycling systems. We have the whole thermal, the way we look at our thermal comfort, we look at it more of a passive way. So we look at how much insulation, how much comfort, how much natural light we can bring in to bring in heat. And then after that, we start looking at our heating systems. And I believe this was our first house where we tried and we tested out the heat pump systems. Todd, I don't know if you want to add anything in the last little bit.
Yeah, the only thing, the advantage of Great Gulf the active house in our context of high output production builder at the same time manufacturer. I mean, we manufacture this house in factories. We are pre-selling houses. So building model homes, building prototypes is essential to show to people who we are and how our houses are interact with the homeowner. And the active house was really a great vehicle during all these years for us to present our care of well-being. This really drove the message home. People did see the difference walking through number of other houses before making a decision. Number of times we heard, I feel comfortable with this house. This house has a good vibe. So we achieve our goal. In addition to energy efficiency, we created a product which is appealing to human senses, and hopefully they choose our product over others. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Sean. I think that's great to see. And look how you filled out the radar, right? I think it's great to see. And also that, it's not just a standard, it's something that people actually witness when they enter the building. So now we come to a very, very different building, again, in a very, very different part of the world. And I'd like to hand over to, I think, Liu Heng is with us now to talk about the zero carbon origami airplane, which I think was also some project that was featured in the Active House Awards in the past. Now, I'm not sure if he's here yet, but Nicole, would you be willing to say a few words about this? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but is that possible? I see he's offline, but it's an amazing project, and I don't think you can see the beauty fully in the two pictures you get here, but it shows the variety of Active House cases.
Yeah, I can say just few words about this project. I can just mention that within like all the strategies that have been applied, it was really much highlighted the use of materials, shape, orientation, but also I will say the way on how all these strategies, I would say passive strategies, were allowing some techniques to be applied. And as you can see here, we have a short diagram on how the ventilation was happening. And this is just one of those that have been applied here in this project. I think it's also very nice to see also where it's located. So all these strategies were very important also to avoid humidity and so on. So I think that there is much to discover, but this is something that I wanted to highlight. And as you can see also the radar, he's highlighting very well, very, very, very nice performances in almost all the categories.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Nicole. There's a question in the chat, Alberto, maybe if you could add the link there when you have a second. In the meantime, we will move on to the next project, and I'm delighted to welcome Günther and Mirko to the stage. Also, very long-term Active House practitioners to talk about this building, Renovactia in Italy.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Günther.
Can I start with explaining the project a little bit? Okay, for the energy part, yes. So this is a renovation project, and as you can see very nicely in the picture on the right side, on the bottom, that there is a double house, and it is really perfect for making like project like this, because we have the real case on the right half, on the left half is renovated. So in real time we can also see the difference, not only calculations and perhaps done then after some results, but also in real time comparison what is happening. The energy part was done mainly by heat pump and a big photovoltaic system, but also I have to say in Italy, in this location, the grids help a lot the grid, because we have a lot of hydropower. So also the emissions of the grid electricity is really low compared to other regions in Italy. So these were the main parts how we could solve the problem.
Thank you very much, Günther. I think, again, it just shows the variety, and it was really important for us to also go into renovations and not just show you new builds, because I think this is becoming an ever increasingly important topic. And I hope we're going to hear more about the project in the discussion. Perfect. Then to the next project, Living Places in Copenhagen. And here we have Ambra joining us to tell us a little bit about this project.
Yes, hi everyone. So Living Places Copenhagen is an experimental project that Velux initiated together with Effect Architects and Artelia engineers in a partnership. And the aim of this project was mainly to see how low we could go with the carbon footprint in a residential unit. And we really wanted to see at the same time how the healthy aspect of the building, so for people living there, could stay in a best class. And so what we achieved and also what we used Active House for is really to show and have an overview of the performance of this building on how it can be healthy for both people and planet. And the project is, it was actually on a temporary site, so it has been there for a couple of years, consisting of 2 residential units, and the others are just pavilions for exhibitions and meetings. And now it has been disassembled and it's on the way to new locations.
Well, thank you for this quick overview. I think it's also the building that is on the top of the Active House booklet. So you may have seen that if you already downloaded the booklet, which is available on the Active House website. So then last but certainly not least, we have the concept Water Resource Recovery Facility. Again, very different projects because we wanted to give you a variety. And I'm delighted to have Xi Dunn. I think you're already here on stage with us. So over to you.
Oh, hello everyone. I'd like to introduce our project. This is a water resource recovery facility in Jiangsu province. This is not only in a water resource enforcement which can treat sewage into clean water, but also healthy urban and rural for the environmental. It providing healthy lifestyle and sustainable development for the whole environment. This project was built following 4 goals: sustainable water quality, energy self-sufficient, resource circulation, and environmental friendly. It has been in an area which has a city and rural place. It can treat 20,000 tons water every day.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Again, it shows, the variety of what we can do with this standard and where it's used. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a teaser to download the booklet and look at some of the other amazing projects. But what we would like to do now is to open this as a discussion to say, what does it mean to have the Active House radar in action? How can you apply these different types of comfort, energy, environment standards to your work? And I'm going to hand over to Carsten to kick off the discussion on the comfort point.
Thank you again, Benita. And yes, we'll have a free discussion areas where we focus on each of the main criteria. And I have panelists for each of the topics, which I will introduce. And we have met some of you already as we begin the subjects. I'll just say I have a general form of my discussion that I'll lead into. So I'll a little bit ask about how you see some both challenges but also opportunities when you have to do something good with this holistic perspective. So traditionally, you could see that if you do something good for the energy performance, it may have some risk on the indoor environment or the comfort. But how is it possible to actually do something that optimizes on both things? And how can you be encouraged by the holistic thinking of the active house concept and the whole philosophy that we try to support and further develop? So this will kind of have as a background mind setting when discussing the more specific topics that we'll have in the next minutes. Also supplementary, also for general considerations, is that we do all this, of course, with a perspective of making buildings for humans. So how do we, with these buildings, how do we optimize and have good interactions between the buildings and the occupants, so that we can know that the building designs will really in practice function optimally according to the design intentions. So without further ado, then I'll jump into talking about comfort or indoor climate, as we also refer to it. The comfort criterion, and each of them actually have sub-criteria, and we've seen them in the radar, but I'll just mention on the topic, on the level of headlines, that under comfort, we have a subtopic for daylight considerations, which is important. The next one is thermal environment, which is important. And then we have the quality otherwise of indoor air quality. And then also acoustic comfort is an important topic under the comfort area. So we have criteria to optimize for indoor the health and well-being and work productivity. We can also talk about. We should have adequate thermal considerations, but also lighting levels and again the acoustic comfort. And then referring back to my second general question, it should be easy to control and manage and to live with for occupants and encourage them to have a responsible use of their building. So with that background, then I'll ask the panelists here. So we have with us in the panel, we have Chiara Cipollone, who is with the Arcadis designers and architects. And we are Tad Putura, and we are Sean Joffrey from Great Gulf Homes in Canada. So if I may ask you all, combining these things here, what strategies and how do you work with these challenges when you should ensure a pleasant thermal indoor environment that works both summer and winter and in different climates, and also with, again, considerations of the occupants? I don't know if some of you can start a discussion from this perspective.
So maybe I can start to answer.
Please, Chiara.
I can try to answer providing two practical examples. The first one concerns the light criteria. A key element for meeting the requirements were certainly developed skylights. They were strategically placed in order to achieve the light requirements, but they also improved the air quality and thermal comfort. In fact, they guarantee cooling of the rooms through natural summer ventilations, thanks to chimney effect. And this interconnection between different criteria is not just limited to comfort area, but also to the energy part. In fact, it wasn't necessary to install ventilation system, which would have increased energy consumptions. The second example concerned the sustainable construction section. In fact, the building was found to be lacking due to the emissions caused by the use of gas boilers for winter heating. So in the improvement proposal, it was suggested to replace the gas boiler with a high heat pump with a geothermal probe. With this solution, allowed the criteria to achieve an excellent score, but also to improve the energy section, thanks to the reduction of consumptions. For the other question about the humans, I can say that during the design phase, the choice of skylight and especially the placement was a crucial part. In fact, during the design phase, several dynamic simulations were created to ensure that they didn't cause glare issues. And so they were placed near the north-facing walls of the room so that the projection of the sunlight wouldn't fall mainly on the walls, would fall mainly on the walls and not on the children's desks. Something else about a challenge, and also it's connected with the sound criteria, is that the existing design was found to be lacking in terms of acoustic comfort. So the calculation software revealed that the sound insulation performance of the partition walls and floors was insufficient to meet the requirements. In fact, the junctions between them weren't designed to reduce the transmission of impact noise from one room to another. Moreover, the partition didn't have any soundproofing layer. So to address this problem, the improvement proposal included the introduction of floating floors and the high-performance acoustic partitions, adding layers. So I think I answered to your questions.
I think that was perfect. I'm amazed by all the factors that you have combined, really addressing the whole palette of things to be considered. Thank you, Chiara. Taj or Sean, I don't know if you can follow up on your project or projects, perhaps we can say, as you work with the subjects in Great Gulf.
So we are in a unique position here in this crowd. We are because we have to commercialize our design. So Active House serves the role of the prototype for us, which we want to replicate many, many, many times and achieve economy of scale. To achieve respectable level of the radar, it costs quite a bit of money. And we all know that, I don't think we are from many countries here, but everybody is facing affordability crisis at this moment, which is affecting accessibility of good and healthy housing. So over the years, we learn what works, what doesn't work, and how to trade the budget which we have between elements which will give us the best result, at the same time will give the best satisfaction to the user of the house. So in one of these houses, we had a family of 5, 3 children and parents living for a year. The data which we got back from them, they were both qualified engineers, so they can supply us with the scientific information, but really very quickly in a part of this experiment, let's call it, they switch to sharing with us comments about comfort, comments about how the family life is affected by right temperature, by quality of the air. Our houses are very extensively, the standard houses, extensively controlled when it comes to the climate control. We make sure that the energy is being used where it needs to be used, depending on the cycle of the functionality of the house. We have heating recovery systems installed as a standard in our houses. Those are the lessons which we learn. Carsten, you mentioned acoustical comfort. So absolutely, this is what we do, especially now with this change of the way how we work, the way how we live after the pandemic. So insulation between specific sections of the house is very critical to us and very appreciated by the buyers, by the users. All our glazing is triple pane glazing. We were one of the first people in this area who switched to this method of construction as a standard, and now it became really a standard. So in a way, we are opening the road, to other people in the industry, and suppliers are also noticing our need. 3-4 years ago, we had only one supplier who, at the industrial level, could supply us with the triple glazed windows. Now everybody converted into this method, and I believe that we have something to do with this. Okay, so it feels good, and at the same time is impacting positively our business. Sean, anything else what I missed?
Just to add to that thermal comfort and how we achieve and all that. I mean, the one comment I always remember with the family living in the house was they got full square footage of the house. So in the wintertime, they didn't have to move the furniture 2 feet away from the walls and windows to stay warm. They were warm right to the edge of the wall,
Good. Thank you for bringing these perspectives in about also the financial and economic and also collaborating partners. That's very relevant. I can follow up with perhaps a supplementary question when you talk about the comfort of people, how they also become in their life have less sickness and are more productive, more healthy. Is that something that you have focused upon, or that you have some experience with the documented that it really works in such a way? People are better or functioning better.
Well, that was the feedback. This family ended up on the stage in Paris during Vilax's Healthy Home Symposium in 2019. And there's this footage out there, in the library of Vilax. I would encourage everybody to find it and look for this. This wasn't this house. This was another house which we built in 2017, 2018. I can tell you one thing. We had this really heartbreaking moment when, after a year-long experiment, they were moving to the old house. So the first thing which they decided to do is to renovate the old house, to beef up the standards, at least to replicate a portion of the comfort which they experience in a true active house.
Super. Nice to hear.
Yes, thank you so much for these parts. I'm afraid we're going to have to move to the next part. So big thanks to the panelists who joined for this section. And Carsten, let's get the other ones on stage for you for the second part of the discussion.
Yes. So the next topic we'll dwell into is energy efficiency, as active houses with a very strong, of course, as we must, a strong emphasis on reducing or have a low energy consumption through using these innovative designs and by integration of renewable energy sources, and also again to really use and support the invention of energy efficient technologies. So in this energy accounting, you could say, focusing on the energy issues, then first of all, it's the basic energy demand, what is required of those buildings. That's the first of the subjects under energy efficiency. The next one is on energy supply, and that's super interesting how we see in many projects the integration of renewable energy sources. And also that leads back to when we count the primary energy performance, then that gives the whole general picture of the performance in the energy and also the environmental burden that leads from our energy use and what kind of sources. So the energy criteria focus on, of course, energy efficient operation of buildings. It focuses on prioritizing passive measures as we can get to them for designing and building to minimize the energy demand, and of course try to get rid of fossil energy sources. And then because we want finally to focus on renewable energy sources that produce, if possible, more energy than what we need for our buildings. So we can even talk about how buildings function in a community context. So with that, I have three fantastic new panelists. So we have Liu Heng, who is the president of the Green Building Design Institute of China in Architecture Design and Consulting. And we have Mirko Berici, who is from the Vanoncini Spa company behind the Renovative in Italy. And we have Günther again, Günther Gattiola, who's from the Active House Italy. So please, for you, questions about how do you work with documenting and elaborating further how to minimize energy demand in the way that you design buildings overall, but also in choices for materials, technologies, and also the integration of renewable methods for energy supply. I don't know who wants to catch this question first.
Perhaps I can start.
You're welcome, Günther.
Okay, super. So we are talking about a renovation project. In renovation, it's really a challenge to reduce the demand, because in new buildings, it's quite easy to make a super envelope, insulated, triple glazed windows, and also the passive gains. You made the design with huge windows, you have a lot of solar gains. But in an existing building, it's not so easy to do it because you are limited in many ways. And also, when you have a double family house like this in our case, you cannot go larger too much on one side, because the design of all the building will then change too much. So it's really limited and then challenged to do that. And another thing that comes in mind, what you talked before on the interconnection between radar aspects. It's clear when we make, for example, a very good comfort design, we will take higher temperatures inside, so 21, 22 degrees. But this also automatically puts on a higher energy consumption. And also when we have lower temperature in summer, will be a higher cooling consumption. So to match these things is really hard. And your question was for documentation of these things. Comfort side, usually we document with a dynamic simulation, energy simulation, to make the comfort criteria. But on the energy side, usually you use national energy certification protocols to not make the double work. But in the national energy calculations, usually the 20 degrees is fixed. So it's really tricky to match these things and really to make them in the right way. Not trick one side and left on the standard the other side, because it's really, as you talked before, they are interconnected, and this is a perfect example for the radar and how we can really we see the real result in the radar.
So the radar kind of helps you to put focus on those things which are not only permissible according to standards or necessary according to standards. We're kind of expanding the scope of things to observe. Mirko, can you supplement perhaps? Or?
I think Mirko's microphone is off.
Eccomi.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, great. You have experience to supplement also on these challenges for energy optimization, which should not be in conflict with all other comfort considerations. And also, I could ask, that goes for both of you or all of your projects, how to follow up, to go back to the buildings, to be in interaction with the occupants, and perhaps even to measure. So what kind of challenges are there, and how can you overcome them to have good energy performance without the potential risks of poor environments?
Sorry, Carsten, I asked Gunther to translate me both the question and the speech. Thank you.
Okay, so the question was, la domanda era che come hai proprio questa problematica quando per evitare bene da dentro, cosa sono le problematiche più gravi che hai riscontrato quando forse spingevi sul lato di energia, ma poi è diventata peggiore sull'acustica o sul comfort? C'è questa interconnessione e come hai cercato anche, forse hai un esempio pratico su questo.
Ok, thank you. Renovatività è l'equilibrio dei tre parametri Active House, Comfort, Energia e Ambiente, perché essendo un edificio esistente è giusto cercare questo equilibrio tra la parte energetica, tra la parte impiantistica, considerando che è esposta a nord prevalentemente, quindi si può sfruttare l'energia solare col fotovoltaico, ma fino a un certo punto, e la luminosità degli ambienti, sfruttando proprio questo orientamento. Quindi il giusto equilibrio tra la prestazione dell'involucro, riqualificato in spessori sottili, essendo un esistente per non stravolgere l'involucro generale della parte nuova, della parte riqualificata, e la parte impiantistica, dotazione impiantistica, insieme alla luminosità degli ambienti, in grado di dare comfort e sostenibilità energetica durante l'anno solare.
I will translate the answer. So it was really a challenge, but this was also the goal. The title, Reign of Active Vita, the most important part is Vita, so really the life, the good life inside of the building. And it was a challenge to do that because the building side, the half side, is oriented to the north side. So all solar gains were also the parts like the plants. It was not so easy because also the photovoltaic, it's not in the best location orientation. For this, it is a little bit bigger than normal. We have a huge production, obviously in summer, but in winter side, it's not so much production from them. And this was the biggest challenge to make this match. Another thing was also in this renovation, because he could not make a huge insulation in the roof, for example, because the roof will get bigger and then outstand the other half of the building. So he had to use very performant special materials to do this task. So this was some kind of the challenge what Milky really did. And I must say from my side, we did a little bit of support as Active House, but they made a super job already when we came. So really compliment to Milko for this big work.
Thank you, Gunther. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for this explanation. I think it's fantastic the way that you have the possibility for this double house, but then comes the issue, as you discussed, that of course north and south orientation performs differently. And finally, and then we should move on, I think. But how about measurements in the house? Are there technologies for basic follow-up on measuring considerations, and also for the energy supply? The renewable contribution to the energy use.
Yeah, of course, there are different measures inside of the heat pump and also of the production, the count of the electricity of the auto consumption and the electricity that goes in the grid. But also for comfort, he has a monitoring system that has CO2, temperature, humidity, and really controls and checks the quality of living inside. As I mentioned, Vita is really the most important part for this, that the people live with high comfort inside.
Okay.
Brilliant. Well, since you see me on the screen, it means that I'm going to ask you to wrap it up, and thank you very much. And let's move to the third topic, to environment.
Yeah, and that's again, of course, a different subject, and nowadays becoming even more important as it has always been. But so beyond energy efficiency, the environmental aspects are considered by Active House in a broader concept, studying the impact on buildings and to encourage the use of sustainable choices, for instance, for materials, but also to reduce the global warming effect, the carbon footprint, and also you could call it long-term resilience, so study the longer life perspective of a building. So we have two subjects under the environmental impact issue, which is for sustainable construction, where we study impact categories. As you know, that there's really a handful of topics. Global warming potential is, of course, the first one. We could talk about ozone depletion, photochemical ozone creation potential, and acidification, etc. As if I remember correctly, there are up to 10 themes, where 5 of them are mentioned specifically in the Active House specifications. And then secondly, also under environmental impact, and we've heard it already earlier today, is the water consumption and possibilities for recycling. So coming back to looking what is the need for fresh water consumption. So the environmental criteria discuss the to minimize impact on the environmental and cultural resources, you can also consider on the environment, and to avoid ecological damage. And then again, to really do that by have a material focus on this. To discuss this here, my panelists will be Ambra Giulietti from Velux. We heard you before, Ambra, so welcome back. We have, and I should hope we have Xi Dan. We also heard you before, and you are a partner architect of Song Own Partners Atelier. So welcome back in this discussion. I'm not sure we have your colleague Song Yi Hao is possibly not with us, but for discussion, what do you kind of consider the most important to consider, the most impactful step that you have made on your project to minimize the environmental effect? We heard there are different subjects, but perhaps I don't know who will start highlighting from your personal perspective or from your company perspective, from your project perspective, what is the most impactful thing that you could do to save the environment?
Yeah, maybe I can start.
You're welcome. Yeah.
For living places, we can say that sustainability was really in focus. So we really wanted to find out how much we could go low with the carbon footprint. And to do that, we really needed to take strategies from the early stage of the design. So sitting at the same table with the architects and engineers and trying to look at all the options we could have. So do a sort of sensitivity analysis and see what different choices in the project, what kind of impact they would have on the carbon footprint. And this is something that you can do, to be honest, just if you have a strategy early on, because doing it during the project or at the, let's say, executive phase of the project, that's a bit too late. And you will try to fix that. While if you do it early on, we also developed a tool actually to see the impact of the different choices.
Thank you, Amber. Of course, I've seen some of I've seen the projects, and I'm amazed by also the amount of documentation that you are able to gather for this. So that's very supports the things you mentioned here. See, Dan, your perspective with your project is of course different also, but what to make an impact, perhaps you can add a few words to that. What is important for you and your projects?
Hello. For this question, I think we use some natural ventilation and natural daylighting. So in some ecological rain garden, so you can lower the dependent on HVAC, so we can less the energy consumption, and for then through the design, we can use less space to build the building, so efficient to use the earth, and some materials for the construction. We need to use the we can build it not long distance, but short distance to the construction space place site. That's some way to minimize the environmental impact.
Good. And you have also in your project this interesting water resource recovery facility.
Yeah.
How does that go in combination with the other themes you just mentioned?
Yeah, the water, the sewage water, after it be it may not into very clean water, but then it can be in our rain garden, then it can pour into the river around the factory. Then through the nature water, it can be more clean. Then it can go easy to back to the water environment.
Super interesting to have this technology represented here in this context. We have just a couple of minutes left, perhaps just a few notes on your topics here, how to involve the occupants in making that they know how their buildings work and its environmental impact with the way, not because of the building, but because of the way the users have a life together with the building, so to speak, to optimize this interaction between building and user. Does that have a notion in your topics, both for both of your projects? If
I
we
would say
can
for
just
living
brief
places,
notes on that.
yeah, we try to remove as much as possible the technology that was not needed and make the building as simple as possible, so that the user can actually interact with the building and take their own choices in using the windows and so on, the heating system.
In a way that doesn't need a doctoral degree to operate their own building. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, good, Amber. See, I don't know if for your technologies you can have a few words on that. To live in a building with the water resource facility, is that easy for the occupants in your building to operate with? See, can you hear me? No, I don't. I think we don't hear she, but our time is also coming to an end. So perhaps I'll complete it here and lead it over to you, Benita, to follow up here on what's next.
Yes, perfect. Well, thank you so much. I also see there's a question from Derek, which is the thermal energy, lighting, and ventilation in active house modeled dynamically or as steady state? And Nicole, do you want to maybe take that question? Is that okay? You have like a minute
Yes.
to do that.
Yes, of course. So I can say that depends on maybe at what stage you are with your projects. But I will say that you can use both methods. Of course, if you do any dynamic simulation, you can even import in the tool the results coming from your software and so get automatically the score. Otherwise, you can also do the assessment, especially for early stage design, by only assuming the performances, or maybe you do the calculation in a steady state, and then you can also insert in that case the results. So I hope is enough. But if you have more questions, of course, please feel free to reach out, or we also have the link to the specification here, and there you can also read a bit more about that.
Wonderful. Well, this is great. Thank you for taking this question. There was also a question in the audience about a living place in Turkey, which I hope we answered. If not, please reach out to us at secretariat@activehouse.info. Check out our website. What I want to do now is to just thank all of you for joining us today, for supporting the Active House specifications and standard. Carsten, Nicole, thank you for taking us through this discussion and helping us bring the radar come to life. We're really excited to have you all here and hope that this is an inspiration to use the Active House standard. There's another one. A lot of people who are here have started Active House using the Active House standard as part of the Active House Awards. So this is a way where you can test your building or your building designs and really apply the Active House standard, submit it, and an international jury will review it and will give you feedback, but also you might get an award as one of the active houses. So this will come online in the next week. So please continue to follow us on LinkedIn and to come to our website. So with that, I just want to say big thank you to everybody on stage. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here. And let's continue this discussion. Let's continue building a sustainable, healthy building, which are good for the environment and for the planet together, all over the world. Thank you so much.
And thank you to everyone in the audience as well.
Thank
So
you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.